Go ahead and get a record. And today we're talking about the accounting reports, and specifically the accounting total report. And so the section would be here. This would be your summary reports, your ledger account summary, your bank account summary, trial balance, income statement, your balance sheet, and your Schedule F. The accounting detail reports, which are up here under the accounting detail reports heading, is that as the kind of section title indicates, these are more summaries. They're not going to show you every single transaction unless you drill further into the account or into the report. I'm sorry, the ledger account on each report. So most of the reports under the account total report should be pretty familiar to everybody on the call today, especially the income statement and balance sheet. So hopefully all this stuff I'll be going over will be review stuff, maybe just for, but hopefully a lot of it won't be anything new stuff. I hope you already knew most of the stuff and are already using these reports on at least a monthly basis, or maybe every couple months, because these are reports that help you make your decisions and make sure that you're on track. So what's the ledger account summary report? So this is like going to list every single ledger account straight down, for that ledger account at the end of the time period selected. Pick your division in your centers, just like any of our reports. You have date range options, and you see this one does ask for the start of the fiscal year. So it's just so it catches your retained earnings and stuff correctly. So just not under your fiscal year, make sure that fiscal year date is set correctly. Just an ending date. It does have columns, so this is going to be very common with all the reports in this section. You can compare it to previous periods, so you could do like a month-to-month comparison, a year-to-year comparison, or just a period you selected compared to the year-to-date. Be number one. So if I was going to look at like just all compared to the rest of the year-to-date, I could do that using option one. It would be period and year-to-date, like option one, but it's going to add a third column for your budget. And so you can see if you have a budget set up, how you're comparing to that budget. And that would be an accounting budget, life cycle budget. Life cycle budget would be options 5 and 6, where option 5 by ledger account gives you your period, your year-to-date, and your life cycle budget. Option 6 gives you your period and compares your period to your life cycle budget and tells you what your variance actually is and gives you that calculation column there. I don't have it set up in this data set, so I can't show option 5 and 6 to you, but we'll go through the other options here. So we're in year-to-date. So for the period, I'm going to pick, I'm trying to think of something I might have some data in. I think we're going to go back to year 14. Didn't like that. And we'll pick nothing there. So I'm comparing it to a budget. I don't need a comparison file. I'm not comparing it to a life cycle budget. I don't need a life cycle scenario. Date cash change. On all of our reports, option 1 is if you use accounts payable and accounts receivable, it's the actual date on the invoice. Option 2 and 3 are the date that the invoices were paid. And then make sure you have any kind of journals and adjustment entries included. I either use option 1 or option 3. Option 2 is usually not used very often, so we're just going to stay with option 1. And the report type, you have your tax, financial management, and market, and these would be selected any kind of journal entries you made that had those tags in them. Again, most people are cash tax. If you run inventory valuation, you might have some management entries in there you want to catch and use option 3. Okay. For my wanting to have more than one period, I could choose that here, and what that is so I have a 2-month period selected. I have June and July selected. So if I had 2 periods selected, it would show me one column be June and July, and the next column would be April, May. 2 months for each period, and I could have up to, I think, 24 different periods there. One, your print lines with 0 amounts. That would be, especially if you're questioning if you have stuff in the right place in the right ledger accounts, you might check that box just to show your ledger accounts and see what your options would have been. Ledger accounts, even if no transactions have been put to the ledger accounts, just so you can see what's available. So you can put that in there. As variance/actual would be doing a comparison to a budget, and we're not doing that right now. So we're going to click OK, any data, and I did have some. Good. So here, and I picked June 1st through July 31st, and that's compared to my date, and you can see percent of the total. The percent of the total expense, percent of the total income, percent of the total asset and liability going down. One thing this report doesn't do that other reports do sometimes show, specifically I'm thinking the income statement will show at the very top. If you have a different periods, it will show the range of each period. I only have one period selected, didn't show it. That is, but if you ever have a question what your date range was, you can always click F4. Like that. My function there. Sorry, but in F4 and it tells you what your parameters were. So you can see really quickly it was June 1 through July 1st. Okay. On the ledger account summary report, you can still drill down into each line and even further into the actual income. See details if you need them, but their details aren't on the report. It's a very concise, clean report here. Go down kind of not in here, but we'll see if we can find a budget file. Be accounting budget files. There'll be Excel files. It's a little more confusing because when people send me backups, they all go in here, and so some of these will match. I don't think I have anything here that's going to match. This person, you wouldn't have that same problem because you would only have your files here. For everybody's. But your budget file, and it would compare it. I apologize, I don't have anything to show there. We can here periods. So I can do 1 month. Only the last do 5 periods, and click OK. Here I have all my last, the 5 periods like I selected. Is ending date is 6/30, so it does show your date here when you run it like that. And you can see hanging over your last 5 periods. Most recent on the left, old right. You can switch that in your preferences if you prefer it to go the other way. And drill in any of these to get the details. Okay. So ask what the difference is between this income statement. Well, you can see at the very end of this report, you have your net income line like you would have on the income statement. So that's probably the biggest difference between the 2 reports. This is lacking the net income line in the bottom. Next, we bank account. The bank account summary report. summarize all of your bank accounts for you really quick and easily. So if we wanted to run all this, I think I have 16 in here. Okay. So, for all your, depending how many you have, anything that's marked as a ledger account as a type M for bank account will show up on this report. It shows you your beginning balance at the time period selected, how many checks, how many deposits, and your ending balance, and the net change for the time period selected. Could be a quick count to reconcile. Every month, this would be a good report to print out and give to management once everything's been reconciled to show that it matches bank statements. Your checks and deposits, obviously, this would be your clear balances now. No, I'm sorry, this could be cleared or uncleared balances. This isn't going to match your the bank exactly because these are going to be your total deposit. So uncleared will be included in those balances. For any of you run company, those would be only the bank accounts, the activity in the company you were in. So even if you had a master company, it wouldn't cross to all companies. It would only be that you're actually in. Okay, this report of the balance sheet every month. I personally usually just do the balance sheet unless I have an error. If I have an error, then I might come to this trial balance. The most difference between this balance sheet is including the prior year column. Also is a combined income statement in your balance sheet where the balance sheet only shows your net income line. This is going to show all your income and expenses on top of your assets and liabilities, and so I can get prior year column there. Run this little year. We're going to do interest and time period. I'm going to show you the include prior year. The debit credit version, that was put in there for some of our accountants are used to reading reports with the credit debit version. To me, it doesn't make sense. I'm sure it makes sense to me without an accounting background. It's confusing for me. I usually don't do the debit credit version, but you absolutely could. Give the option for printing lines with zero amounts. Options for date cash exchange. The only thing you don't have here that on most reports is your center selection. It runs it for all centers. Basically, I say 15. Okay. We have here, we have all income and we have all of our expenses here listed out on a regular balance sheet versus our balance sheet. This would all be condensed into the net income line. But you see it all here. You can drill into your period numbers, entries. You cannot, or I thought I'm a liar there. You cannot, you couldn't, and you can, I thought you can drill into private, unless you can be getting balance. And you can drill, I thought one column on here that you couldn't drill into, but I stand corrected. I compare this to last year. Now this would be the whole year, the prior year, and then your beginning balances. So when this comes really helpful is if you're trying to January 1st, the first day of your fiscal year, if you're doing that, then your prior year should match your beginning balances. And then you know you have an issue with beginning balance entries, and you can kind of find your error that way. Look through, though, going down it, you get down to your assets, your liability, and your net change. So change should be 0 to be in balance. So you see here, I'm balanced on my year, I'm got balance my beginning balances, my period, and my ending balance. So this is a non-balanced data set right now. It had a balance and you kept up on this. Hopefully your period would be in balance. Hopefully your beginning balances would still be in balance. Maybe you'll be out in periods, so you can look through that period to find out you're out. So this is a really good to start if you're out of balance on your balance sheet, is to come trial balance and try to find your errors. Every single entry here, but you can always, like I said, drill down and find your individual entries. It's a summary report, though. Similar ledger account summary, very similar to the top of the trial balance. You have the op periods to print, like we had a ledger account summary. Periods up here. Income statement to a regular budget, like you can on the ledger account summary, so that's one other big difference between the two. But you can compare to your life cycle budget if you run life cycle budget. You can also show a year-to-date by division. If you run, you can do a year-to-date by company. You can also show your income statement if you run a lot of accrual or management marketing journal entries. You have this option 8 where you can compare each column. Each column is going to be different. Date cash exchange option there. Not exchange, I'm sorry, different entry type there. So entries here, you have period to date with the dollar change, period with year to date and the percentage change, depending on what I like to look at. Period, and percentage. So we'll go period and year. We're not life cycle budget, so we don't have a scenario. We'll stick with fiscal year 15. We'll do it in months. Maybe we're option 3, cash tax. Period 5. I don't want to print with zero. I do ledger account numbers. Some people don't like the ledger account numbers to show up on the left-hand column or to print them. They just want the description. So even with that ledger account on the left-hand column to print, you need to check that box. It wouldn't use hidden rows unless you use the definition. I should explain definition here. That is an option here with your report definition. You can write your own definitions on your income statement as well as your balance sheet. This means that if you have a couple of accounts that are like a similar category, there's they might be some ledger accounts that maybe on the income statement you want them all into one line. People who have a lot of lines, hedging lines, something like that, maybe they'll combine those all into one line instead of having several ledger accounts. Anyway, definition, I can help you with that if you ever have questions on that. But you'd select that definition here. And on those definitions, you have hidden lines, so that's where that include hidden rows checkbox comes into play. If you're trying to find an issue, you might want to show those hidden rows, so you would check that box. Accounts, if you've inactivated an account, but you see if anything was put to that prior to inactivating, you would check that box. We'll go ahead and run the report like this. Right there, I just had some fertilizer and lime expenses in January, it looks like. So you can see their net expense. And it has your net income at the bottom, which is unique here too. The income will show because it will show that net income line down there. Okay. Sheets. Here again, you have your option for divisions, or using a percent, your fiscal year, your ending date. You don't have periods. It is start of the fiscal year to the date you select. The year-to-date report. We can find periods selected. You obviously have year-to-date selected. Fill your 2-column report. This is how I always run my balance sheet, is this 2-column report. Just a personal preference. I like to be able to see side by side my assets versus my liability and equity. And that's what it does. It puts your assets on the left and your liability and equity on the right. To me, it just makes it much easier. You're not scrolling up and down. If you have a large chart, you're not scrolling up and down quite as much, or maybe not even at all. So I really option for. And if you're online with me where I'm looking at your data, that's how I'll always probably run it. So not any of the other views, but for me it is a personal, like I said, personal preference, whatever you like. Again, compare your cash accrual, market management, and marketing. If you make those type of entries, year by division, your life cycle budget comparison, if you have life cycle budget, year to date by company, and then for intercompany reporting again. So here we'll go year to date by division. Let me just double check this data that has the kind. Okay, division. So I'm gonna run this. I don't know how much data in 15. So I'm gonna run this for 14. See if I can pick up a little more data. Just so we can see a little bit from year to date by division. What comes up? And I'm going to just, click OK. Division 0, Division 1, and my total for the date range selected. So this is for all 14. That's liability and equity all in a line, and then it gives me the bit you're out. Oh, I should have showed you something on the other page. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back one more step. I can't believe it's not. I always check this box to include net change. That if you're in balance or not at the very bottom quickly without you having to look at it and compare it or do any math there. Print lines with 0, we just talked about that. Print ledger numbers on the left, we just talked about that. Include hidden rows, again, goes back to the definition. Fiscal year, put that in for one client. I think we only have one client who uses it, and he doesn't even really use it that much. So just probably ignore that box. And always examine on screen. You see 2 more up here on the right, which is don't include drill down. That's if you didn't want to be able to drill down. What that does is if you're running for a large data range and your data set is really big, it might take a while to run. So if you set box to not include drill down, it could speed up the report, the time it takes to calculate the report and inactive accounts. So anyway, I checked that box for net change. We're going to look at this again. See here again, this kind of reflects, it should have, and it does reflect my trial balance, that I'm out of balance, and going across the line there because my net change should be 0 if I'm in balance. I'm out of balance. So this is a year-to-date by division, year-to-date by division. I'm going to show this the way I like to see it, though, which is just my option 4. It's back again. I still have my include net change checked. And you can see I have my assets on my left, my liability and equity on the right. My net change is 1,100. I am out of balance. Drill down into any of these lines to kind of see what was going on. And you can still drill as far as you need to go to get to the actual entries. Report is in our accounting total reports is our Schedule F, and this is a definition report. It's the only one that you absolutely have to have your definition set up for a section before you can run the report, and that is under Setup, Accounting, Schedule F, Bridge, and it's what your accountant does for you at the end of the year. But you can keep it on your own. You put what ledger accounts are your livestock sales, cost basis. You fill out every single one of these lines with the ledger accounts or ledger account range that applies. And chemicals, if I had chemicals, I would find my expenses for chemicals. pick 7103716. Just like everything happens, you can use commas to select them. Again, I could just put in type what you need. You put them all. You can put in your other expensive miscellaneous. You type in here what your accounts are. I'm sure we're just going to put just so you're going to be repairs, and then I'm going to change my description here to A to repairs. You have A ref over here, and then you see you have everything filled out. I only did a few lines there, and then it shows you your true income. So some of our accounts we track for income and expenses that are tax deductible expenses. So you can, where your income statement is going to include all those, you take them out. The Schedule F is an easy way to take them out of your income or expense, however it might be, to give you your true net income. You can see that, and then your farm profit or loss down at the very bottom. The expense definitions here, where I typed in repairs, they don't show up on the report, but if I was to print it out, like it doesn't show up on screen, but if I printed it out, it would show up when I printed it out. But that's just how that works. Through net profit or loss based on the ledger accounts that you set up for each line on the definition. So it's kind of the summary reports. We have a couple minutes left over. I am going to unmute everybody to kind of leave it open for some questions here. Let me unmute you. There we go. And Mark. There we go. Do you have any questions? Sorry, I remembered. Okay. Well, if there aren't any questions, this was recorded, so it will be on the website in the next 3 or 4. So if you ever want to go back and review it, you can. You can also always call or email me questions.
Okay, either 30 minutes and get the chemicals in here.
Bonnie, I'm going to remute you. So if you have any questions, you know how to call or email me. I appreciate you attending today's webinar. And I have Bonnie and Nick signed up for next week. So Marcy, if you want to join, please let me know. And
okay.
We'll talk to you all later.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marcy. Bye.
Bye.
Everybody have a day.
You too.